Tuwunáagu, but yeah, away, yeah, Glek.
Oh, Tlingit.
Tlingit. I guess Ejin Glek. It took an aid, so Glekwashi, so but it was a good way took an aid, Tayi, to Inaya. Hutsu, way Kak on Anarti, the Shabu. Yeah, what shut Kiatsko away who take in Hasaku, Yishkasniki. Yeah, as to took ya kunach du tukane yach eboti ye away dashi aya
Cut a hun, ye do a software shower. We use shower. Cut a hun, ye do a software.
Kingesti aya kakwan ish du inakawani we shkashni.
Skashni klein owa.
Ya awa.
Kecha. Where
Kanak kech dach away ausaku we shi. But away do as to Nakashan do as to dash Jimmy. Ha as to. Okay. Any class process questions? I know I owe Chiwu 100 phone calls. I have not made any of them yet.
Just tell me again about the presentation next week.
Yeah, so next week you guys are giving presentations that will be the entirety of our class. It shouldn't be a surprise, right? That's how we.
Wait, what?
Yeah, including you, so you stick around. What I would expect is for you to pick one particular storyteller. It doesn't have to be somebody that we've studied. If there's some other storyteller out there that we haven't particularly looked at, and then you're going to spend about 20 minutes talking about that particular person. I would prefer that you didn't really read big chunks of their material or bring long audio clips of their material, but instead you could certainly send that to me and I can upload it somewhere, or we can share it through email for others to sort of look at on their own time. But you would reference this stuff and you're going to give us, so this has been really a lot of fun to do with you guys. I've really wanted to do a class like this for a long time, and I think it's fun to just spend so much time in Tlingit and to talk about these different materials, which is what other language programs do. They have language classes, and then they have content courses where you're using the language. The metaphor they were using in Hawaii was like deep sea fishing, and that's what they're always pushing for, is this deeper content in terms of the language, the culture, the uses. And so all we can really do is just scratch tiny surfaces, but you can, as an individual, take it farther. So if your interest was Shah Dog, then you might sort of do his story, do some information about his clan, and you might cover, say these are the types of stories he liked to tell. He's Chakak awake, Yaki and Kawu to Adak of the time. And he was always talking, he worked Jesus into his stories, and he was really fluid with that. And Walter Soboleff was another, and it doesn't have to be a storyteller. It could be somebody who had a great impact on Tlingit oratory. Like Walter Soboleff and his sermons in Tlingit, and Boris DeWitt, who did the same thing. Or if you want to sort of look at, and it doesn't have to be one person, because you could also say, well, I want to look at these different versions of this same story and talk about why these versions might exist. You should give us a little bit of history of that person, where they're from, how they're connected to their clan, different information on that. And if you have some other idea that you want to do, I'd say go for it, but you've got 20 minutes to take us to the deep, deep depths of something, and to do so in Tlingit. You can use any types of imagery and slides or whatever you want to do to develop. If you want to just say, I don't use slides, this is old school, then that's totally fine. If you want to have handouts, something that you want to share with us, and this is your chance as a researcher in the language to find some of that content.
Okay.
So if we do like a PowerPoint or something, should we email it to you?
Yeah, that would be easiest, because then we could just share it from, and we'll probably just have it on the screen and you'll click on the slides on the sides. We might try entering the slideshow. Sometimes I could view it on screen share. Any other questions?
Is our midterm in Tlingit Tuesday or Thursday? Maybe Is that falls on the same week?
Yes. Tuesday and Thursday.
Oh,
Got a bit of a leap cycle.
Okay. Could I maybe do my midterm on Thursday?
Sure. For their intermediate Tlingit midterm, they're doing,
Midterm.
yeah. Your guess.
2 Thursday.
The middle can do whatever we want it to. This is the middle. And it's really hard, so it's longer. I had them doing these memorized lists of words, but then I scrapped the idea a week or two ago. Instead, I had this different idea that I forgot to tell you about in the syllabus, which was to create an autobiographical poster and share that with us in the language. That would be fun. I saw it in Hawaii, and there's full of good ideas. And so they talk about who I am as a person and what the language means to me. And they draw pictures and they do it all together, which is a lot of fun.
But the way we do things is not good enough. Just kidding.
This is the Tlingit way. Okay. Anything else before we? Okay, so we got the because we cherish you. We'll also, as once we start the class, move into Tlingit. We will also, after because we cherish you, we'll talk about that and that whole experience. I don't know if we need a break before, because we kind of just got started, so maybe we'll just go and break after. What do you guys think?
Are we going to talk about the Jim Marks Memorial at all?
Yes, so then after this, we'll backtrack and we'll go through the Jim Marks Memorial, including the big Jesse Dalton speech. And we'll listen to Because We Cherish You. We will take a break immediately after the audio stops playing, just about an hour. And then, and those of you online, I hope this works and you guys can hear it okay. I wish there was a better way for me to stream audio. So let me know if for some reason you're unable to hear it. I'll try turning this microphone off, which should help. So then we'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk about that whole experience of listening to it and reading it, because it's fun. I've read these things over and over and over, but I've never, I've listened to small chunks, but just to listen to the whole thing through, which includes some different things linking and all of the songs that they sing, and some of them are, they're just cautious. They're sacred clan songs, a lot of them. They belong to clans, but they brought them out. They wanted to start this process, and from this meeting was celebration, the idea of celebration, I think, was born, and several lines and then songs were born out of certain speeches. So we'll have a chance to talk about that. Then we'll shift and we'll talk about the other section that we didn't talk about yet, the Tuwunáagu, and we'll begin introducing the Elizabeth Nyman. We'll just talk a little bit about it if we got time, and also maybe just read a little bit. We'll see where we're at with time by the time we get through that stuff. And we'll probably end up cutting the personal life stories from Elizabeth Nyman. I think they're very important. They're really amazing because you've got somebody just being autobiographical, and there's really tremendous content in there. We might try to bring that up during the finals week and while we get together, but we'll see. But we're starting to get a little crunched for time, and I think the Battle of Sitco is a big thing. I didn't want to cut that, so I thought these would be the things that might go. You should certainly look at them on your own time. She had an amazing life, just fantastic. Okay. Get you any?
Oh,
Okay.
Do you have the audio for the Jim Marks Memorial?
Maybe, but I don't have it queued up.
Well, I was just wondering.
I think I've looked for it, but I don't think I haven't found it. I may pull up the just so I can go through it. Yeah, I'll try and find it.
Someone must have it.
So what page does this start on?
264. 264.
264. If you need it to stop for any reason, just like page 8. But if you want to take some paper and make some notes about specific things that you want to talk about, we won't talk about things until the end. Here we go. So I'm turning this microphone down. Take this forward as well.
Ancak yapılatiyen Seidayaa ayağıyla nerede patlı savaşçı sohbeti çok çok ayak aşıyı nerede patlı ve Tuwunáagu aí. Esse que eu falei, visitou, ele aí, olha, que fez, quando se olha, faz que é a cliente na ilha, e o cliente que eu falei, quando você está com o contato lá, certo, fazendo esse, eu que vou lá, eu conheço, عشان التحقيقات كنت تبقى عارف كنت آخر كنت تولى ونعطوني وصاح تكون كنت حلم أي لا تقصير تكوني كاتسة تتيشي أيقظ خطرتي يكو تعطيته في نوع سكتا تنسكت يعني تت هذا تجبتها التفكير كهت شو كان ده आगे ये कुछ आगे और هذا تجبتها تقولي को अलिया देवया तत्फकीर तत्फकीर खाखो का आगे तत्फकीर ये या है Tuwunáagu I different thing. Wat krijgt dat het koude zit? Wat je kiest, God laat echt genoeg, ja. Niet dat je wat je kan, zoals een koude zit, ja. Wat dat is. Wat kan je zeggen? Je zeg je, wat je kiest, God, wat je kiest. Wat je dat het ook zeggen, en zo. Ja, goed. Thank you.
Yes, which one?
It's always customary by our Indian tradition that the songs that are sung are very sacred to our people. And these young people are learning the Indian culture and they know what it means. So therefore, it's not a plaything for them because they're learning the history and it means a lot to them. Both well through exercise and as well as with the words. Some of the songs are very sad to them after they learn the tradition. And so it's only customary that the Oxy tribe would answer to their song. So I've been requesting that two of the elders be delegated to respond. And one is George Davis, and the other one will be George again. Thank you. Ajawe, here compasti, here compasti, tak nak compasti, yan hata, you put some you this compasti, kau ini saya ya inta, ya tugas compasti ya, tinggi setiap, kafir sipasin, akosti, kau Akaya alternat. Ya, tinggi setiap, nasewa dia akan tetap berhasil. Awak show itu terset, awak yang itu terus, aku kau itu ya silas kita tanah utama, anak katakan ya habis kuas. Ada yesterday, ada fishy, kau street of fishy, a street has the chinky over shouting. Ada Facebook take what he got and gets a tea. Here, yes, in the name over, as a fatigue, a carta was a fatu, they talk about the one kick. Hade kasati ya unti hade kasati awe hade sa pasti awe to yeuna ne jewe kuna chicha adana hasata nape ya pasti ya hade kasati ade stu hade the perception shipana wega ya to ki ya kewa unte eu vou também o também o Cherish eu vou olhar esquece não vai ter os que tá na frente você te chegou e deu capotado eu te conectei eu sei que a capotado de tempo com você Therefore, you are out there, it is called, you shall come over the words up, the fish case, as the one there. The secretary, you have chosen him, you have to stay here, let's go higher in that, I think what he did was stay here. I can't go to attend, I shit. I said, yeah, Kau yang lupa fikir kita aku kita kasih jadi ham apa sah hari ini besar kita besarnya yang kita siasat ya ini sesuatu yang besar kau yang waktu akhirnya awak tak boleh sih awak ya bersanjung ayah asih tentang anu jeniskan ayah sab tasih anu jenis asat kulaki siapa asih kos asatu ayahnya anak so profesor dia foto tenia ayah itu que a força do que a posterior porque e ainda tá aqui eu sei que esquece agora Cherish
we're singing Look See as a going out song, and its words go, the whole earth is flooded, and my poor believer has nowhere to fly. Heavenly Father, please help me.
Yeah.
Playing away.
Yeah. Gach to has to you Hatangi Ayagach to Shukwa Ayagachitsa. Dachish with it.
Okay.
Sheesh.
Yeah, that's powerful stuff, man. I listen to the whole thing, be like,
I'll get the whole thing together and find the other chunks. The other chunks.
chunks. That's what Frank's grandma was with Cass. She called him Chunk, and he was thinking that he was just called Chunk, like bad or something. Why'd you call me Chunk? Oh my god.
Told my sister. Apparently, she was keeping a secret for a month. Really, everyone else knew except for like me and you.
Kathy.
I was
me,
shocked
and
as
then-
you were.
And then like I saw you the next day, like for that same day, and you didn't say anything to me about it, and I was like, is she?
Yeah, Ida told me that, and I was like, she would have been so mad.
I was gonna say something to you too. I was like, are you excited about Heather? Excited Heather's coming, and then you didn't say anything about it. And I was like, no.
I did as I was instructed.
What were you instructed? Just don't tell anyone.
What about you?
I can't remember who told me.
Who told you?
I don't remember.
You just know someone said don't tell
Somebody
Stephanie.
said. Or maybe somebody said, somebody and somebody knows, don't tell anybody else.
I was.
So it became like a guy, well,
We
you're
worked
guy
together.
hanging.
All I know is I
Only
wasn't
when
supposed to
she
say
was
anything,
on.
so I didn't.
What?
I know.
What?
I wasn't supposed to say anything, so.
It worked. It was pretty successful. Good day.
That accent was a really beautiful melody.
I keep hearing a little touch of the harmony, but I
Yeah.
love the
Yeah. And the K2. The vocables sounded different than how I've usually heard it. That was interesting.
I still don't really know the words to show up.
Yeah. How was it, Dawson?
I think I kind of have the first verse now, and like 2 lines of the second verse, and then I'm kind of like,
Did you say something about Mikasa? Or did I hear you wrong?
I said Dawson.
Are
Mikasa, Dawson.
you wearing like an insulated skirt?
Mm-hmm.
That's magical.
like Donna Costco Beth.
Wow.
Super warm. It's not very stylish, but it's like
all the
wearing a
feels.
sleeping
I mean,
bag.
it looks very
I feel like it's like Juno fashion.
Yeah.
It's
It's
very
stylish
fashion.
in Juno.
Fashion.
It's stylish in Juno.
You show up in New York, they're gonna
So
laugh.
you're for the conference? And
The extra puffs, like,
how long are you gonna be?
You go on
That's
a
a
party.
good day.
It's a decent amount of time. I leave Sunday and then I come back Wednesday to go to Tlingit.
Oh. It's Is he here right now too? And is it like this?
Busy with colleagues stuff.
Does this count for some of your classes?
No.
You just blew all the non-people here?
Well,
Kathy invited me.
so Kathy. Like, Really awesome.
I don't need more coffee, but I want more coffee. I shouldn't.
My friend, she asked me like I was doing her like a huge favor, and I'm like, oh, fix your things in my You really just finding me home for like a week. You're doing me. Oh, I did some ceramics this morning. I drank almost an entire bottle of coffee.
Just by myself, I was getting excited.
I need to stop. Me too.
I don't even drink
It's
water
really
anymore. I
something
just drink
that
coffee.
but it's totally worth it.
I try and have a glass or two of water.
Is there any good online option?
Well, I mean,
Like 1 drink
like,
a day.
they
But
largely don't.
otherwise, I basically only
Here,
drink
like, there's
coffee.
only one class.
By the time I'm going to bed, I'm like
dinner?
thirsty. No, I'm so thirsty that I just was like,
They're a little bit less expensive.
Sometimes I can't even sleep because I have just some caffeine.
Yeah. This is where that is, basically, all the other classes are like, they post their lectures online and stuff, so you can go back and take your slides and. Like, I pretty
Well,
much.
Glenn emailed me today. He told me, I've got a legislative internship. And I'm getting a stipend too, so it's like $5,000. Awesome. No, I set up I emailed him to set up a meeting. A meeting on Wednesday.
Because they like years.
Crossing my fingers
Do you like work with a specific?
for JPT.
Oh, I get it.
Doing good work for you.
I think it's kind of a competitive office. He's awesome. But
Becomes a class enthusiast.
let's see.
There's only one person in the legislature who's studying Tlingit.
Are you doing any of the classes?
I think the only other class I'll be able to do is Valley Community
So because,
in the evenings.
when Elizabeth was doing it,
Yeah.
she was did down her emails until like
Right?
Yeah.
12-hour days.
The sun.
Or at the end. I think it's mostly towards the end. I hope.
Surely, this,
Get your shit. I don't know what that's.
We'll see. That'll be an experience. Oh. Yeah. 1 minute. I can.
But there's a lot of offices that are like, oh, you're the here to do records,
Yeah.
but there are a lot of other ones about that. Oh, you're from dispatch, like, trying to learn this shit. So if
Yeah.
you're,
I feel like JKT would be good that way. Also, otherwise,
should.
Glenn told me.
do with Coghill.
That's what I was saying. I was
Yeah.
like, infiltration, infiltration and dispersion. Just like, those things.
Ooh, staff from the
I
inside.
thought I was supposed to shred that document.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to
Oopsies.
photocopy all this and take them home.
Oh, so.
Making all sorts of mistakes. Does that cost us?
I don't know.
That's what I told Glenn though. I said, if I get it,
I kind of stole them.
Yeah, I know.
But you can pretend like they're better.
infiltration, undercover. It's like, I'll just paint my skin like white and then just go in and be like, I'll get like a hat.
Get like a blonde wig.
Yeah, I'll do a Republican for 8 hours a day.
Do that white face.
Yeah.
Can you do like one of those old white curly wigs, so like.
George Washington. That's what I said I was gonna do for Halloween. So I don't want to be culturally appropriate.
Another way.
I did take cowboy once. Okay. Gan how ni kahtu hasiyu khatangi shukwa ayatuk ni ithawaha the katataya haskuitu.
Okay, Holiday. We're waiting.
Like
to Shitka. Akshay to Adak Kauzikhat Akhasti, Katsu Hede Shitan Khatsiti, Jishkadak. Ayaha ish has, Ayahas Hayakanujin, at Kadakakut, ish has ani. Ayayidak Yakan Khat Akaudu, Khat Akaunai, Ziak, Yadki, you cannot go away a day to Hatank. Hashangat Sati Adayati, Aweta Hashagunyan Akunik. You always Kashnik Nujin Hakakas, Hashish Kas, Yayidat Yad Kahani away, Akhan Kitchnash, you kick away Yodo, Ish hit Dayes Jane Nuk, Ishk, Away is Yawaka, Kaish to the Tak Kak Ye, Agach Desayishk, Ach keep you, Aya, Hinch Yosene, Aid away, Purpose away, Cut would do a hook, Hat Yasanu Hakik, Abawa Yukatank, Isanas Neawe, Buaya Yadu, Yishk, Kesh to Kadu Tak Kaye Gachtusa, Hach Yachat Gasatiach Inu Hashi Atk Kitchnach, Abawa Yichat Yasakar Hun, Ina Yadi Jide away, Sakiti Yasa, you away, then Hat Yasakar.
Awasa.
Akshaguna de Yushakaus Hikia, Akhanach, Ushkitanda Chana Yahatusiti, Ayana Hawus away, Akshish, Haju Yuwak, the Chankian Hawe House City, Akha Yananach, Chakatya Akhish Yananach Kawas, Akhish Dash Kuwuk issue away the Sa, Deshi Tan away Church, Gadach Khan away Hadbuti, the Gawa away a day took a tank, Akha Kaskusti, Yaya Akhani, Hashat,
What?
Shahek away a GCT,
Awasa.
Shahek GCT, Akhlish Yuwak, to Akhlish Akhaniyan, Ayaki, Anakuts, Hayat Gun, Deshi Tanyaki, Punate, Deshi Tanya de Husiti, Ayayat Haskin, Astu Yanana, Katie House, Kuki Yahweh, Tuyata Akhlish, Kekuk, Shish, Yai that away.
What?
Yatha ai yayek. Apa we keje dus su chayo ayu ayena de pashenget sati. Ugh ke utiba. Ach tundetani o ke ju chitsak. Itu de dakawe. Achan has to yegi. Kuch kuyek. Ke gadi kuyek. Yai data way tundetani yeti. Anushjin has a shat. Yakhan.
Awasa.
Tundetani way yeti. Katsuya chak ta. Duchashi to Akjiowe. Chakot yede to. Has tundetani yeti.
Ganesh Cheesh.
Shachet you away tundetani yeti.
Ganesh Cheesh.
Ajowe. Tundetani yeti. Ketiba. Jita way yai that you yesh ku. Aya de shak pushat gaz. Aya de shak pushat gaz. Utiqa,
Goulash cheese.
Tlingit Hasati, which ya would a ne, ayayat wakuk, yayidat, yagaw, Hatsuya hit, ya ayit takin aya hit, she atika, Achan Hasitki, de shu hit, ye hit, Utiqa, where ya adukt. Has yawa pi yachaweach jikud u shachet chaji nachsati yachana owesh dupa chatati
Goulash cheese.
dupa chatati shucha ke chat gawat owe chaachjan achan has chede jishkat inawe wush kiki yanchuzati ya adag tangi tangiye begal de shu de a chatlach lachaitle ya achs ti de tuchen de ya chana shayav liha has to the changriya a dog over history one day de shi punch ya akhan khusaki chan Walter Savoa Wech ach it like ha enach stopa guchtati da yaksa you has to shish has to da yeji one day.
Goulash cheese.
Isaku ya akhan Samuel G. Johnson yeji sagan ish now do it away kuchtati ana way da yaksa way ach had seen the shish kuchtati Yadeshu Hiddyak, the Krana way, Ayus Asatangan, Ayus Asatangan, you are yes, page ya on. Achawayai that Stupa Huttati, Stupa the T Hutsnu,
Goulash cheese.
Stupa the T Hutsnu, Achtuyak so ya at away. Pashinga Txati, ya atko, ya atcha, why ya gal so a shinget which the ikhin, a dog you, a tank you, he. One panin so a chakat, kashkat in a gawe, and a woost. I do sakshi ye khatwus in me. One panin so a ye in this cage. Ikani away, itachkan away, Ichana away, Yatcha, Suach, Stupach, Suchatati, Winash Cheesh, Shawd and Ekri, Yuayakaya,
Goulash cheese.
Ach Atasati, ho,
Goulash cheese.
Ach Clenchaya Haju Sati, Kagach to Nikha, Kach Kuntud Tini. Adeha dat yeti kachuwa ya kinderchun ya gachtu ad kochte. Aya stoppa hatte te bin cheese
Eat for Goulash cheese. Yeah.
Kitchener. Gate Kwasi way Anahat Kianik Gadu Achji. Yayidat away Akaha Jusasak Yach Shatulat Saki Hatlingit Sati
kunas cheese
Deak Hajik Hadenya Naltidiawa Yasi Alaska Anahat Has Uwanak Gu up Shift Dr. Chun Has Ayatua Nip Haji
kunas cheese
Su Hajida
Untaqji Hashifhas Ade Kayakaya Achawe Edach Kandushit Awe Ayu Atanyuk Ash with the guag. You do go Hatulu Awe Yeti and De Kayade Yushatu Bek in Awedia Ik Ede Haach Yayu Yukatam
Wasa.
Yayida Krititi Ak Ye Yati do dot do shuka Yayuk Katangi You Akhlif Itikanech Ke Kuk away yuk atank away yeguchsene.
Gynnes Seidayaa Iwa Achis Sayi Gedan Astuwakshi Yanhan Ishas Waetsu Gedan Esyuch Akitan away Khataway Yuch Akpatani Egias De Tlingit Khat Shasiti Dushuka Wagut Yakash At Ade Yakhat Yanadakye De Yidatkua We Isi Dak Away Sawa Dastiya Anyat Kusani Shakaka Yak Yakini Ya Aktasis Aya Hasusiti Yashitka Kagwantan Achiyates Atukawush Ya Achjiye Ute Achsisko Has Khan Yusisisko Has Yakuhit Yisk Hayawuki Shansh Paket Yaki
Gonna cheese away kick. Ada yuk Yatangia.
Ajaya Yayidat Achnak Haswu Adi Uaya Yadak Has Shukwa Adi Yachaya Tuwuyati Yach Ish Has Aushayesi Yatuk Kuyek Jesawayach Tua Ushkut an Yishkatini Shayadehen Aya Atudik Sikhadikha Yashitka Achwech Tua Sigu Aya Akawunigi Achishko Aya Awashiation Atut Awashiation Yukoch Kuyek Aka Ayu Awak Aya Act At Kakashin and Ayu Juan Gushkach Ayu Yekisugaga Yugush Ayadi Ach Good Kick a goodin away do kick a goodin Ka itde away te uich you are quite good away ke shukanas stage yachnatij ye away ach to city yidat yank which kanach wutu da adi yakuch kuyek yak hasach ya ach at has kisani ya achsani has ya hadach khan kisani ukhke utiqa stude kadutze ya yek atkhdush yekhi atjowe ukhke utiqa ya yek khashi kat has achkhi has du khud away ke anna tlekt yubush khuyek Has du Jinahayi Awe, has du Hudach Ke Anatlet, Urke A Utira, Kayanesh Pin Awe, Ke du Naksh Ayu, De Yinach Ke Kaudushi Yek, spirit, that's a spirit song. And the opposite tribe on that side, they have to stand up and hold your hands up. Chuchkach Aya, Kakrit Chuch, Yuyek, Ade Put came to Gik Ye Hapusti Ye, Achaya, Yaida Dayu Chatan, Shayadehani Adaya Atunach, Kawa Hapusti Ye. Which is Khan Aya Atunach Kawaha, which ya awudenetsu Atunach Kawaha, Dasaya Yanehidat, Kaya Awune Aya, Yat Tukine, so Yadlegu Stekat Uhan Ayas, Hastlegu, Yahadat Khankisani, Kusakhan. Yada chun sate, yada chun yukhatan, Haslingit sati, put kain hiki, late kach u at usetu sach eya achji Yagal yukhatangi, ye away dua ach hastu shantuch, nidat, tlefqua ade has du kak. Tleshqua ade has du kap seha ye of course tleshwe ha ach chatsu ye awe chat natij sidzi you at prokahin you use khasha at qanugun ye awe du ach jinuj ach shantu was ach hun su ye awe du ach jinuj du shantu Yatat Ganeshish you aya dayachaka yach ish has aya yach ede choachi kawayekt unachich awe achich du yegi aya wasahan Hayehas do not de Hatini Ya Achis Yeudu Zene Ya Khatguku away Ayat Shuhwatan Yakichihu Ayat Shuhwatan Ayat Shuhwatan Achikuhas Atudahu Adi Achis Yan Yeudu Zene Achklasis Kuk Sikat Hasaya Kagwantan Dutch Hankian Hasusiti Achue Achis Yodu Zine Wekuch Yaga Owe Shia Awedene Paya Kikwati Sikat Yachan Ach Hasachik Has Eya Achun Idat
Chatsu ikik aya.
Isis Ke Khawe Wae Achue Tlega de Adchet Awunach Giye Uwaya Ach Shayina Yach Ada Ach Tuwati Ach Kakas Ach Jich Anakas Uat Tus Kudas Ach Jiwu Has du Shaki Aditsu Ach Jiwu
Ganashish.
Cheat Wutsaka zu Ach Jiwu Slikat Johan Yadak Yi Adi Yatawe Shachshagat Ochke Utiqa Yuch Atangi Kawayit Unachiqa Yayidat Adesh Dukhtuye Gudashish, Achatas, Seidayaa Awe, Yatahwa, Chaye de Shukpati, Hinchakak Ayu, Ke Uwak Ak Yu Ayutus, Aka Awe, Henach Hagu, Yu Ayawsaka, At Uwagut, you do art, Achsani, Haguk, Hagu, you away, Aga away, Ikashat away, Yande, Ikhwahu, Atles Kawe, Ayach Ute, Yachas, Iyakas, Amikach away, you ye aya ya akhshawu ya akhsani has akh has city yiguka khani ye aya ye ya kakwa gnachish khatwus ushakhet
Gnachish adeyuk iyatangiya.
you akh hat kukhwa tiniye you akhsisko has khatwus ye khude jes shakte wes khat yawuk as ye khwagudi kat ko awe ach dase gutut ko hichen kha idat ko awe shtunach ke kachte jes khwe
Ja, idat achat hey de yuk de yeknuk de kautua achowa hasis kohas ades ayakaye gas ki de awe gas te de awe uya ayayich atustenen awe ya idat awe yat atuch yatras awati ka tuwu shai sidnuk shakanak awe ya shukani hoch akach shi wu ka gwantan yatit shukish chuch Jach tuwu awe ju tichwas at ach yatak ade ya khatwuchi khiya awe ja ade khwan ye khatnayo
gnachish yit
ya yidat ya yidat we de yidahani anach hat kukau dia ye awe at chukach tu khukun awe adu sadu eat chukau du te khuku awe chi khwas du ye tak kune uhan chakat ayade awe du I chukau du te khuk anach awe ushas uskujen adu yadich sa kusati ye awe ya yidat awe ya yisakhi kunach chish kha
Shikshani ishi tchoha.
kunach chish
Tlingit Juan Kri Ades Kunugu ye owe yayidat Cha'ayach Gayis Nukut Age ye tunuk ye kat wukudin ach ish has itikanech. Yach owe. Yayi that owe chai itu kautu wat techu. Yach owe. Hatu jechin.
Okay.
Ach owe yech ayaka yatki. Yach de yeji yanei ye tes hatua ushku. Chakawa yech yawus achi haslishku has adeyes jine ye owe. De a aututli haje at owe. Aha wakhiya ka at owe. Kakao tua ket de kawa tu gun owecha hatlashishku hatlakakas hastu kostiye hastu khatangi de aututli haji at owe haji yes haji kaki ya ket ajowe tu he de shukach tutan ya kuske daket haji kanakas kaudikit hakakas
Okay.
kahatlishku has yayi dat owe ya du
Siyak away, you atank you de kwati, yak at ashukat yak shade pik in achilkuhas. Away, you atank yes aguxene, panu gun away, ye at gupaneyi, kach at ja sha away, ke kazechat. Ye away wune ziyak achtuwu ade yakukaha yat. Kahaja sha away ya tehi ya nak te kadut uethich. Siya de away ach ya kadut nachich. You away ada you tu chatank. Yat at shukat away you dig pati. At away Ganyach ayach detan. Ayach detan. Place away aktua ishku. Anya gunde chagudi. Huchi ai suck away. Joke away kuk plesh anik. Ye ayu do a saw. There was a man, his name Dr. Johnson. You all know him. Talk kwati. And there's no man walked on the sea. You all know it. That's the salt water out there. But this is the man that walked on the sea. Roy Parajovich have to bear witness to watch his uncle had walked on the sea. He looked at it. Hasani krak ihwe tiyak. Ach away, chuch yak away. Kawe Mr. Brown. Klap ha sunny ha yak shai se ach cha ye sunny away sa hin kukach yawagut tak kwati ye away yan shuatan gunas chish. Thank you very much. Ye ko wayati ha shingit city. We can't cut it short, and still we made it. We cut it short because Roy and Mr. Brown want to step out tonight, you know. We can see it on his face, so we cut it short. Thank you very much.
Ach tuasigu chatsu ach dashchan aya yaye timin Dimitri Udusagan. Hu away ye akayan. You yis kach chat satik. I used to listen to him, and he used to say that one-way love play ye kade kusachan gugana.
Wasa.
Wush gade kusachan koa ways for long living. Ye kukwas teen.
Ye
Ye away ach tu yati.
Gunish cheese.
Yaha jide yat yi kusachani.
Wasa.
Ayidak kashi chuch tunef kadati chachzu.
Gunish cheese.
Gonna chish away, ish has shagani, shaganya, ish has shaganya, ach ye eka, ach dach chanki, sani, yak, anhas wudenagan, wudenage. Ye kwa da ach tuati fleek has shagina Alaska Native Brotherhood toot a good day.
Gunish cheese.
Alaska Native Brotherhood toot a good hutsu shiatica atuhu tutan achaya yat awaye kuat de us kudziti adhas agach flayech su has do nok you doc de dain chagut an has do de gach do ach gonna chish away a day had that yishi ya has do ye jane uwayagi case yiti gonna chish ye away yidayach has do gius ya ach dachchan ian tlachwa kuge atsa tlach ach tua ushku shuk anach gedanyet Johnson ach hank gut ya at yet has to at kafatut tlach tu uaya du gede kuchlagawu yahuti Hef ach tua ushku atu ye chati. And one reason, yash enough ye, he's lying. He's not telling the truth. He's not doing it right. The reason why, but now I thank you, all you delegates and all these officers. Thank you very much.
Yes. That's probably how he said it.
Yes.
Gonna choose your wish to cut you on. Achasawuke away. Wait a dot, yep. Takwasa yige ayas to you.
Uchech kudidash. Owe. You are. Where kushitsikwa at aya shakasi at Hastushike Kesa Kawashi Yewe Hastushike Kuhitsikwa at Yeguti Yek Dashi Ye Achaya Wekonik Nai Hastu Kach Kaudu Fedash where Hastu Yuchatangi Teen Ye Ayach Ayaka New Jane Chakawikt Unachicha Uchke Utiga Yegi Yishishkos Yegi Yichashi Chakawikt Unachicha Isatin Yach where Achaya has to at Uwu dot US Kayaka where Ahutsakai Ayat Shu Watan Chakawa Yikt Una Kiha Uke Utira Litai Yahweh Tuwu like Kush Uke Utira Uke Uati Hesh Ushke Uke Uati Achaya Uke Utira Ka Keden Shustulten Shreyenehem Yuchatan Ha I Alfi 2 where Ka Yuchatan Gidat Klifko has that where gives Adi Klifko has she Adatuch Ditan Chakao Yikt Unachicha Kach Achguk Chashi Adatuch Ditan Chakao Yikt Unachicha Tu Kaka Kushta Kwani Hastu Huyewuti Schwitzenechi Kuyek Kawusenechi Kuyek Kachan Kuyek Ayash Schwuti Sa We Kushta Kuyek Uschin Hasal Shat Awedayu Tucha Tank Uschin Hasal Shat Ichishko Hasyegi Ades Afiyachie Ha Aduda Chakao Yikt Unachicha Uchke Utiqa Shayedehene US Watan Yes Yausikha Uchke Utiqa Chakao Yikt Unachicha Ichtdat that
Kunachadat has Tushaat 1980 Kaya Gewuchi Wagao Hasausaku Kone Hajidach Shubuchia Kosti Kahayukatangi Yata Koarga Yekuti could eat tin aya. The Tashats was Chukwa aya with the cut cow walk she away. Yeah, she at the cow has to duck it. Because could eat a joy a dot a kunach has out. The cash has to twash go your teshush key at the guns. He do so good. It has to twash go. Yeah. Ha ide away jinaha. A joy kunachaya a dot has out at. Yeah, we have posti. Yeah, a joy has to twash a good too. Yeah. Yeah, the kata ayi a joy tesha to ashko a dachaya uhi we have you hatangi. Yet just the cut at aya a ka gachtul hates a gachtul hates aya tesha to ashko put you uhi costi. Did that aya wash joya has to journey to naha kutzeti. A joy has to yoga tangi, panacha away. Kunach away to two. Ya Joya Haye Jenei has auxatin, Wega Dachaya. A Jaweshin tin aya, Kunach away has Haushabat. Dasa.
Aya de Shakatakat.
Yeah.
Ayat Shuatan. Yach Shuatan.
Has to adu that. They had no.
Kunachak a away labor association. They were enchanted.
Where yek that, keach hiskas kaka, where kushta, a toot our creation. Achaya, kushta, kwani, kushta create, half hiskas, yes, I am. A tooth our creation where yek kushta create, luk create, kuch create, cake cook, ada accounting.
Yeah, that's it. Wush a sheet. What's a cool?
Chuchka Dachkan, yek do a song. Chuchka Dachkan. Do Shishko has with a shish.
Yeah, well. Question. Wait, ka aya. Ka guantang. Do shut quash kicks at the. Where ka do yaki away kicks at the. Quash kicks at the show what? Whoosh with the shy ka guantang kabu has to get the chush to get the chan.
Yeah, where ka do ish. Yeah, Shishko has ka do ish. Tlach train shovel handy that Chuchka Dachkan city. Anya Kosani away.
Yeah, what? Futurama. Tadasa, I'm my own grandpa. Hey, you can't yeah, it's whoosh kiki yan aya yaki. Quash cut aya wait, the cut ye nach sati Chishugu generation ach yan Chishugu generation ka Chishugu gender aya yukan wush kiki yan kekach enach bros ka sisters Chishugu gender ka wush kiki yan. Each other's keek. Sisters are well.
These things never seem totally clear because I've heard you call your younger brother or sister a keek or a eek. But some people will say all sisters are a glak. I thought it was just your older sister is a glak.
So for the way I understand it is the sibling thing is gendered. So a boy or a male would have keek would be the younger brothers, hunch would be the older brothers, glak would be the sisters.
Yeah, so that's the difference that I'm seeing.
And then a female would have shatch, keek would be the younger sisters,
so that
eek would be the brothers.
I think the only difference is where I heard it is where a man could call a younger sister either keek or eek. But I'm not totally sure because I think you hear different things.
Yeah.
And then of course, someone, people probably go, "Oh, you should just hear it from a speaker," But,
yeah, and the kinship is really hard because the kinship system keeps infiltrating our ways of sort of looking at it. So like, we had a hard time figuring out P, and that would be you're just saying we're the same, generally kind of the same clan, or at least we're really close and we're related.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what? Sounds like that in their head. Huh.
There's so many good phrases there. That's
yeah.
Where Yekuti that where to hear to akchi. Just you khatank. One panins just you khatank where has to eat. You hear tank. Hef Chashakat Shif Kekayu Shi Ye Ye Hiko has Yebi that what you hear tank. Yeah, you did just a shit. That's what they're doing there. And then when people say, "Oh, you only need to respond to a spirit song with another spirit song," I mean, these guys knew what they were doing. These guys knew what they're doing. So they talked about it. They didn't have to sing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're using this elevated form of language where you're doing these kind of specific sort of steps, it's not like totally prescribed, but then you can see they're using this really upper register when you listen to it. There's this very specific way of performing these types of oratory where it's different than when we just sort of sit around. So you got to push your vocal cords up to that level. And then when they're doing the responses, they're really shouting it out to each other and really kind of, at times they're just sort of doing an acknowledgement, like, "Oh, what?" Because you're talking to, you name somebody, or but other times, and then there's so much good stuff.
It feels really good to see you. I really love you very much. This thing is so important. was way more valuable than anything we could ever experience.
Nothing shall surpass it.
Anyway, I'm gonna take a nap now.
It's interesting too, though, at the beginning when Charlie Joseph was talking, and he apologizes in Tlingit because there were so many people who at the time didn't know the language, you know.
Right.
But they were talking to these people in Tlingit. They were talking to Tlingit people in Tlingit who didn't understand, and it was really interesting time, you know, 1980, you know.
Yeah.
Seidayaa and then Seidayaa heritage came about from this. It's just really interesting to read these speeches from that time where it was kind of the shift between the older generation who all knew the language to this younger, newer generation.
A lot of times people say in the 1900s or 1920s or 1930s is when the culture was really being lost. No way, it's the baby boom generation where it really, really happened. You know, even though there was a lot of culture loss and culture death, but it was really when our parents' generation had no idea at all what was going on. You know, I mean, they know a lot, they have a lot to share, but when there wasn't that language, there was that language barrier, it was like impossible, you know, to get what was going on, you know, for a lot of time until they, you know, try to learn it later, you know.
Right. Yeah, you know, and all these different things that they were seeing at this time.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like looking at today, we're seeing exactly what they saw coming. And hopefully we're seeing that shift towards moving back towards something like this. Because one of the things that the Downhowers talk about a lot in their introduction to this whole book is they're really glad they could capture it, but their belief is that Tlingit would survive, but it would be this really simple kind of language that wouldn't be this sort of cultural and conceptual and linguistic complexity that you see here. We've got these big, you know, so like some of these things, and so you're saying their lives strand from all these different places. And that verb, is like, is for things to hang in bundles, like bundles of berries, bundles of ropes, bundles of things. And so you can see, and they use that verb a lot here to talk about sort of these strands of like, almost like family trees, and you're looking how these things work and to think of which, you know, and so when you spot that verb and you see how to use that, where the other one was to talk about somebody's words just falling all over the place. You know, it's like for something to fall and kind of break at the same time. And so some of these things, adin, so the root for that is teet, which is a wave. Yushatitki is a place on the way. If you took the ferry from Haines to Skagway, you would turn around this place called Dayi Point, and that's Yushatitki. And so it means to rock in the waves. And so it's fun to see how these things get put together. And while I was looking these up, I also found which is amazing. It's to move by dragging your dragging your ass, which is like a caterpillar or something that kind of.
And also they talk about, George Davis talks about people Tlingit only being in books, you know, and he talks about that too, you know.
Yeah, you know, I can see all this stuff come.
Yep. Yep. Well, I think what people are doing is really amazing. I mean, it's people surviving. It's great. We're further along than the predictions. You know, people. Downhowers was even Richard, and I thought it was by now Tlingit would be dead. You know, so we're defying predictions. But in a lot of ways, it feels like if we were in a hospital and like there's the greatest surgeons that ever lived, and like they know how to do the brain surgery and everything. It's that complex. And then just a couple generations later, people, they're all gone, and then people pick up their tools and put their things, and maybe they look at a manual and they go, "Oh, I know it. Well, I was born into it. I know it. Oh yeah, give me your brain."
My grandfather was a brain surgeon. My father was a brain surgeon. So, I haven't had any classes.
It's in my DNA, guys. So I mean, it feels like that sometimes because how and it's not to put too more pressure because we're getting over genocide basically, but it's also not to just imagine that we're some kind of perfect continuation. And it's just sort of soberly, realistically, with hope, look at what's in front of us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like that opening. Because now you hear that all the time, but in English.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So it'd be good to hear that more and have that be kind of the gesture in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you see him just talking in between all these big songs, and you read the notes, and they say, songs like this they didn't sing them in public.
Yeah.
So it had to be just a really heavy moment, and so it's like they wanted to bring all these things out and say, we're taking everything that we have out because we need a change of direction, which is what.
And the treasure of the grandchildren, that anyone with Tlingit lineage has grandparents that, and particularly it's the father's father. That's usually, but even then, just the general idea of grandparents or ancestors, you put them above everything else. And that's what Charlie Joseph talked about, that's in the tradition, And also it's one of the things is if anyone ever tries to speak higher than you or like they know more and they're better than you or anything like that, it's like, let's look at Charlie Joseph and these guys, and that's when we know what it actually is about.
Yeah, and it's more reciprocal than competitive. It's like responding to your concepts and then responding to these other concepts and then bringing these other things. And so you seem to be more interested in tying things together than trying to sort of, oh, well, you did that, now I better do this type of thing. And the other thing is, I think there's a few that Seidayaa is a speaker, so these are some of the last people that raised their children as speakers, Seidayaa, all the speakers that she raised. But then you see, this was the generation also where that practice stopped, immediately after them is where you see where it stopped. Then there's a few very rare exceptions, but now sort of we got to do that again as well, which is the other, and that to me seems less. Well, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because then they're raising these bilingual kids who can just sit at their feet and listen to all of this and understand. And there's this whole, it's at 1980, so we got 100 speakers right now. So in 1980, they probably had thousands. But then they could see, somebody shared on some Facebook group this thing of Michael Krause's predictions of when these languages were going to die. And this was the year for Haida and Tsimshian.
Yeah.
And I think Tlingit was 2030 or something like that, or 2025. So, we can sort of look at those things and so It's interesting. I mean, I think we're on the path. We got to keep coming back to these things, with really open minds, so we can just say, well, what were they trying to communicate? How do I incorporate that into my work? Like this should, like, if your organization sponsored this and this was part of your organization, then you should probably read this like every year and just say, is this what we're practicing? Is this what we're doing?
Yeah.
It's my prescription.
Kind of going back a few points, but wasn't it also kind of a unique thing because there was the people in the dance group were from all different clans, not only different moyens, but also all sorts of clans mixed up.
Right. So you'd have, and these groups were beginning to form. They didn't really exist back, prior to this, because celebration didn't exist. So we're in a totally different time now with celebration, where, you get all kinds of, so you've got these multi-clan groups, and you also have these gigantic dance groups, and like only 5% of the people go to practice, so these are sort of common things I think that do happen from time to time. And there are lots of groups who they've got it together and they practice, but then now you see more like communities, right? So this is Cake, and this is Ngoon, and this is the Inland group, and this is the Chilkat group. Whereas before this, it would have been the Tuwunáagu and then the Kiksati would have, and they would have done these things at Ku'ik, sort of standing up in front of each other and doing some things as a clan. So that was also another shift.
But the thinking behind it that you carefully explained that the elders totally got was that they all have they tie into these lineages, and that's mainly the grandparents' lineage. Most especially if it's their father's father, and so they have a right to those songs.
Mm-hmm.
Each person in that group has a right to at least one of the songs, by being that grandchild.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea, is that in an appropriate situation, when there's the trust among the clan, the grandchild can be dressed in the most valuable agu, and they can sing the most cherished songs.
Right.
Just as long as you announce it, you're not saying we're giving this song to our grandchildren. We're saying this is our grandchildren. It makes it more special. It makes this agu more valuable by our grandchildren wearing it. Makes our songs more precious by them singing it.
Yeah, and so now you have certain clans that are saying nobody can sing this anymore except for us.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they're complicated times, because you want to kind of say, well, that's not right, but at the same time, you can see that, and you see these pictures of Kitchnach, and he's wearing the Netuchji Kudas.
Yeah.
That's our big shaman thing, and so, but it was all about like seeing each other and doing a lot and really understanding those lineages, which you see them talking about an awful lot. And this, which was born through this, which came through this, and then this.
I'm wondering if he had Tuwunáagu lineage, because he also talked in that's the same thing as in the recording, and it's in the book, because you Cherish your book, but not in this one, where he talked about Peisan.
Yeah.
I don't want just one man to respond to you, to talk to you, and that's why he brought Pei's son in, and I was like, but I mean, they knew what they were doing, so there must be we puzzle over that when that kind of thing happens. So maybe that he had the Tuwunáagu lineage, that'd be a educated guess,
Right.
That sort of makes me think about, just because it's so complex, but also just trying to understand it, like how clan ownership of particular things and then performing things or bringing them out are related by people who aren't in that clan. Because like in Hashuka, a lot of those stories are told by people who aren't the plan, however you describe it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's these because these elders were super knowledgeable. They knew what they were doing. And a lot of times they had lineage that connected to it, or they acknowledged where it came from. So yeah, that's the other thing too, is now you can't even think, don't even dare to dream about anyone else's history. You know, when these elders knew what was going on. It's not just to say, take those stories and try to tell them in front of everybody, but what comes to mind is Mark Jacobs, is that everyone told the stories to everybody in their own privacy, their own home. But when you're in public, which that means at a puig, basically, right, at a ceremony in public, you wouldn't. There'd be much more restrictions to that.
You would do it if they asked you to.
Exactly.
Because there might be like, so here's someone who's qanaqtidi.
Yeah.
And so he sat at the foot of a storyteller who was qanaqtidi. And so an example would be the woodworm story. George Davis, he was asking about it, and his wife is qanaqtidi, and she wanted to know the story. And so I invited David Katzy, who I asked him if he knew the story. He said he did. And he's qanaqtidi yati, and so he gets asked by a qanaqtidi person to come and tell the story.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a lot more interconnected than some people make it out to be, which is probably influenced by like concepts like copyright, right? You know, so they're like, oh no, you can't say that. That's shukahadi, you know.
Yeah.
And so you hear, and there's even songs.
Wait, sorry, I swore. But I have to get to my list.
Okay.
Sorry.
Send me an email in the next couple days, just saying generally what you plan to do with your presentation, just so I know.
I think also like in the old days, there was a lot less like conceptualization of division between clans, where people even have the same quality would have a lot more connections.
Yeah, they would
feel more like, you know, connected, and they wouldn't think of themselves as different, you know.
Yeah, they would have that Chindaat, that's what they call it. They help each other,
Yeah.
especially at cooking.
And what some that Ethel just told me when I saw her, it's okay. Never ever turn down Jindaat.
Yeah.
So if this is your same moiety, you can show up. You can show up to any party in your moiety and contribute.
Okay, cheesh.
Yeah.
Okay, Jaya, cheesh to cut you on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Richard Downhour has some pretty cool stuff in his thesis about like